Hello, this is one of my last videos that I will share on this topic with regards to the Cricket World Cup. Like I'd mentioned, I've gone through Ahmedabad, I've gone through Kolkata, I've gone through matches in Mumbai, the matrix about how the World Cup went in general, and the England, Afghanistan, Bangladesh World Cup campaigns, how they went, the South Africa, New Zealand campaigns, how they went, and now we're talking about Australia. I understand it's always the winning team should have the last video, but since I'm coming as an Indian cricket fan, at least until the end of the World Cup, I wanted to uh, my whole point of making this series of videos was to making sense as to why India lost, right? And after I started this about a week ago and started analyzing the results from maybe about 2 3 weeks ago, I I've had a feeling, had a sense of why that happened. But after I carefully looked at all the scores, all this stats, and all the patterns in all these places, right? Ahmedabad, Kolkata, Mumbai, top matrix, all the venues and all. I realized I have an understanding as to why India were not invincible as I thought. Now enough of India. But I'm going to set this video up for the next video as well. But again, congratulations to Australia. They deserve the cup. The reason why I would say they deserve the cup will be clear in a couple of moments. Now Australia, as you saw, until the semi-final, they had nothing go their way with regards to conditions. So they when they played on venues that were toss dependent. Okay, I need to make this six. When they played on menu that soft dependent, they never played in conditions that were favorable to them. They always played conditions that were favorable to the opposing team, but not favorable to them. But for the only first time in the finals, that's when they had the conditions in their favor, because Ahmedabad is notorious for teams batting batting first. They just put a stranglehold. If you can see the pattern from my previous videos, again I'll provide the link to this video in the description or under this video. As you can see that most of the teams that won here won comfortably while they were chasing, right? So Australia got the better of the conditions. They were, like I mentioned, they didn't let their rigidity get the better of them. Usually they're quite proactive in batting first in big games. If I'm not mistaken, in the 2011 World Cup too. Let me just check at the 2011 World Cup. I think they played in the similar sort of conditions, I think, or maybe that pitch was better. Australia versus India 2011 World Cup quarterfinal scorecard. I want to see who won the toss that day. I think it was Ponting who won the toss, and I think he went to bat first. Yeah, Australia to bat first. Yep. This is a match that probably a lot of Indians are fond of. This one, I mean, Yuvraj Singh played a match of his life, and Australia were able to get only to 260. But of course, it's about 13 years ago, 12 years ago from this match. But you will also see that in this case that the middle overs, the Australian batting order collapsed spectacularly, right? And then eventually at the end they got some consolation runs through David Hussey and all, but it was a tough pitch to bat on. It was a more favorable pitch to bat in the second innings. But I thought that in big match situations they had this sort of rigidity, right? They would get the rigidity get the better of them, and they were going to bat first and hopefully put India under pressure. I thought that was going to happen, and I thought that in this case, when Australia, what do you call, uh, Australia batted first, they would have either been strangled by India, like they got strangled in Chennai, or they would get strangled like how India also strangled Pakistan in Ahmedabad. I was sure about it if they batted first, but kudos to them. They took the chance, and much to surprise everybody, They're so sure about themselves. And again, I cannot emphasize this enough. They deserve to win. And again, it's not just on the day. They also had, like I mentioned, they had unfavorable conditions throughout the World Cup. Like until this point, right? Until the semi-finals are done, they didn't get one match in their favor with regards to the bowling condition in the league games. They had 0 out of 4. I mean, they could have lost 4, and we're not even we're talking about Australia right now, but they had 4 unfavorable matches where they 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 batted first and they should have bowled first, or they bowled first when they should have batted first, and still they managed to hang on to this game. Like for example here, right here, I understand that they batted in unfavorable conditions, and then they didn't bat, they didn't bowl second on Chennai. This one was a tactical error from Australia, but still you have to give credit that Australia, they made a match out of this, despite of having such unfavorable conditions to bat and unfavorable conditions to bowl. Because the ball, I mean, Azampa was just literally with his towel. Even in this game at Chennai, it was also a heavily toss dependent game, but they managed to have India 2 for 3 and 24 for 4, right? I understand some India fans will say coulda, should have, or some Australian fans will also say coulda, should have, but you would have to look at it without any emotions, and keep emotions out of it, and check to the best of your abilities. I mean, even if you look at it without emotions, you may still have a certain biased perspective. Maybe I have a biased perspective here that India were in trouble in this match in Chennai, right? But still, again, I have no ill intent here, but this is what I think without any bias. I don't think I have any bias here, and I think this game could have gone either way with 24 for 4, if Kohli's catch was taken. But still, the Chennai pitch and the Chennai conditions are so ridiculously easy. If they bat for another 10 overs, and Pandya, or I think Pandya and Shreyas Iyer, I think Pandya and Sky and Jadeja were left. I think if they've, and even Ashwin was left, right? They would have somehow got India home, but that would have given India a much better preparation, because they would have been tested very hard. Probably they would have got 2 more wickets in this game. But Australia, much to their credit, their bowling did come through. Now, what we have to say here is, unlike the old Australian teams which had much stronger batting lineups, right? This Australian team had batting frailties. It was evident. Now, I'll preface this the analysis of the Australian cricket team with the way they played in the Ashes. Of course, it's a 20 over. Here is a 50 over Ashes with the 5 Test match. Now, Australians, right? Unlike previous Australian teams, they don't have the ability to put the opponents under pressure, especially its batting order, whether it's with spin or with ball that swings around a little bit. If the ball has pace, they are good. But if the ball doesn't have pace, if it's just medium pace, it just swings, and maybe the spinners are getting a bit of spin, they will struggle a little bit, and that's what's shown in this game. Their batting frailties. If I'm not mistaken, in this game, Australia were like 75 for 1 or something, and then they managed to botch that up. Now, Australia South Africa. This game, everybody thought Australia were a gone case. I mean, I was still a little bit unsure, because Australia have the ability to turn, but South Africa, they completely utterly dominated Australia, and then we could see this coming, because South Africa were a much better team batting first, but still, the level of comprehensiveness, right? The comprehensiveness with which South Africa had dispatched Australia in this game, I thought, okay, they were on the verge of getting knocked out if they don't get the act together soon. Now, Australia versus Sri Lanka, again, I mean, there's a famous line from Pat Cummins, who'd acknowledged that he was feeling a little bit insecure after Sri Lanka won 57 for 1 after 25 overs, and Australia managed to pull them back and chase it down quite comfortably. But this one, I would say, okay, this one showed that, okay, Australia still had the fighting spirit, albeit against Sri Lanka. They still had this fighting spirit, and this one just gave them some breathing room, even though they were not out of the woods yet. This game, I would say, again, I'll tell you why I put this in light green later on when I make the India video. But this game, again, they got unfavorable conditions, because by batting first in Bangalore, because it's a good chasing ground, you are under pressure to get at least 360, 370, and this one I think Warner got lucky. I think he got dropped. Of course, good on him to make 100, but this one was a tight game, and then they got to the party at the right time. Pakistan here were at one stage looking to up the ante, and they were getting close. And if Iftikhar Ahmed was playing Stark quite comfortably. I think he just lifted him in Stark. I think in one of Stark or Hayes, but I don't remember right. Iftikhar Ahmed just timed the ball to flicked it to just square leg. No pressure at all. It went for six, and I think they were really looking very comfortable. Australia managed to pull this back despite of bowling in unfavorable conditions. Yes, they had a bit of luck, but still, even after this, I was not convinced that Australia were going that far because they got lucky against Warner. They got unlucky with Warner, and also one other important thing is their middle order to lower middle order were not able to capitalize on the excellent start given by by Warner, right? And this one sort of exposed their frailties against slower bowlers and or the middle order, right? This showed, hey, maybe their batting is they're not a cohesive unit. They're just getting by. This one again was utter domination by Australia. They just again went and against Netherlands. There's nothing much to talk about it. Glenn Maxwell scored 100, a 40 ball 100, but it's okay. That's fine. It's nothing much to discuss here. Now this game again, it's a clutch game. Yes, Australia got lucky, but this game, it's also Australia made their own luck because they fielded terrifically in this game, and then they batted well. No, okay, I would say the batting is mixed, but the fielding and the bowling at the clutch moments was good. And the most important factor was again the Australian batting frailty was exposed here. When Head and Warner were 118 for 0 after 10 overs, right? You'd usually expect them to get at least, having a conservative estimate of 7.5 and over, right? Because the opposing team had the pressure, right? They would at least get to 400 at this time, right? But Glenn Phillips, I think Satner, I think Rachin Ravindra, right? All of them strangled Mitchell Marsh and Steve Smith, inducing from false stroke from both of them, and that sort of gave me a concern that okay, they were just scraping by, but still they were not a wholesome team. They're not playing that well. Okay, now Australia England, again they played in unfavorable conditions. This game I think Australia really showed how good they were. Again they got lucky against England, especially with England being so confused at the time, and the batting order also not lacking confidence. Now this game they were put in unfavorable conditions, and then they still managed to win that game. I think this game probably um, brought them back again. They probably brought them back again to the World Cup. Probably now they believe right now because they've gone through a lot of hard scenic route to get to this point here. They were still in contention, but this game probably put them in the semi-finals because I think at this time I think they won 5 and they were at 10 points after they won this game, and then they played with conditions with a lot of dew in them. So probably they were very dominating, and it may not seem like a lot. 33 runs may not seem like a lot, but that was clutch performance and against a very good England batting order, especially when Ben Stokes and Moeen Ali were exploiting the conditions very well. And England Afghanistan, of course, there's nothing Australia, there's nothing much to talk about here. Maxwell played well, but I mean you have to say that it's probably they got lucky with the catches. At the same time, you could say the conditions were again unfavorable for them. To their credit, right, Australia started bowling well right now, and they only restricted Afghanistan to 290. Well, they could have done a lot better, but Australia were able to hold on to this to keep restrict them at 290. Again, in this game, their batting was exposed. Because, like I said in my previous video in Mumbai, right, I would say that if you're able to survive for at least for the first 20 overs without losing too many wickets, they could have easily won the match. But Australian batting again, they were confused. They didn't know what to do, and they were 91 for 7. They gave wicket they should not have, and I consider this Afghanistan's what do you call coming off Afghanistan, right? Yeah, they lost the game, but I'm sure they'll beat Australia at some time in the near future. If if they keep on doing what they're doing right now. But again, what you have to say until now is um, they had four matches that maybe the conditions were not in their favor. Probably these matches would not have been that close had Australia won the toss and they did what was conducive at the time. Like this game, maybe they should have won the toss. Even after they won the toss, they should have bowled first, and and have the luck with India. I don't. They should have known that there was going to be a lot of Jew here, and this one they should have known that it's. I don't know whether who won the toss here, but they should have known it's a good game to bowl. I think they lost this toss, and they played in unfavorable conditions because Bangalore is a harder ground to defend. I think Warner might know that properly, but I don't know what happened there. And the New Zealand game was a clutch game, and the England game, the conditions were very unfavorable for them, and the Afghanistan game, the conditions were unfavorable, but they somehow scraped through. Again, you could say, okay, they got lucky, but I don't think they got lucky. They also had this game and this game where the conditions were not in their favor, so they still managed to win them. And I'm sure if Australia batted first on the wicket, they would have won the game without any drama at all. And this game, maybe if they batted first, right, they would have put Pakistan under extreme pressure if they bowled first, because Pakistan would have been Pakistan would have been chasing to set up a good score, and they know Pakistan know that okay, this ground is a hard ground to defend, right? Then they would have been under pressure right now. So I would say okay, Australia deserve to be at this point, whether it's 3 or 4, that's another matter, but they deserve to be in the semi-finals because based on the clutch moments they won and the conditions that were against them, and then they were able to win those critical three matches. Like until now, they were the critical three matches when the conditions were not in their favor until semi-final. Now, even in the semi-final, they had conditions not in their favor. The pitch was spinning even more. The spin was even more pronounced in the second innings. Even Maidam Makram was able to get a lot of spin. The way he bowled David Warner out. There you can say that South were choking, but the reason why Australia won is because they just kept on resisting South Africa. You could say, yeah, Australian batting frailties were exposed here again because they were batting poorly against South Africa, but it was an absolute minefield. You had to give both facts in equal consideration. I think this one they should have they should after 60 for 0 they should have finished it up in 40 overs, and then probably with 4 or 5 wickets to spare, right? But I have a feeling that probably this exposed Australian middle order, especially Smith and Labuschagne, who were specifically put in the team for especially such low chasing scores and some challenging wickets, but they didn't do well. I think Smith did okay, but Labuschagne was again confused at least until this point. Maxwell had an ugly swipe, and I think the critical point here was even though Australian batting frailties were exposed, they know you could see that some of them will still fight and not give it up, right? Especially Josh Inglis. Yes, he got some luck, some edges here and there, but for most of the innings, almost 90, I think 80 or 90% of the shots he was under control until even the ball he got out to, right, against Kotsia. That was a superb delivery. It's not like as if Inglis lost his stumps and he played a rash shot or he was beaten. That was a genuinely good delivery, what do you call Shane Bond level good deliveries. And he was crouching low. He was playing the spin as well, Inglis, and you have to give credit to way Cummins and Stark also played. Yes, they got a little bit of edges here and there, and Quinton didn't take some half chances, but still, you on those sort of wickets you need a bit of luck. But this one could have been South Africa's to win, but you have to say, okay, maybe they had unfavorable bowling conditions in the second innings. Maybe they need just a little bit of luck to survive. But this one could have easily gone to South Africa as well, and we wouldn't be talking about Australia right now. The final, I think this is the first time they absolutely got the conditions that were conducive to 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 their to their play, to conditions in their favor, not conditions for their style of play, but you can say conditions in their favor, because the pitch was absolute like a sandbox in the first innings, right? Kohli and Rahul, they couldn't get anything through, and probably this seemed like deja vu of this game in Chennai, where Australia repeated the same dose that we gave them in the first game, or maybe they have different patterns from this game. But this game also seemed like India versus Pakistan, where Pakistan had a good start and then they capitulated from overs 30 to 40. And again, Pat Cummins, to all his credit, he bowled. But even in this match, right, this wild swipe by David Warner and Mitchell Marsh, and also Smith not reviewing right, that actually showed that throughout the World Cup, Australia did not have a set batting, and the batting always was a little bit built on shaky ground. Maxwell played a one or two good knocks, but I wasn't sure if Maxwell was going to play a big clutch knock in the finals here. So what I was hoping that Head or Labuschagne lost their concentration, and then they would just get that one opening where they would get Maxwell and Inglis with 80 or 90 to get, and then you'll be the bowlers, hopefully putting what you call a cocoon around the Pat Cummins and frustrating Pat Cummins and probably putting him under a lot of pressure. I thought that's what would happen, but credit to Head and Labuschagne. Yes, they got a little bit lucky at the beginning of their innings, but they were able to ride that luck a little bit, and then Head absolutely smashed India around the park, and he was playing very well under pressure. Yes, it got easier to bat. Again, I will tell you why that's a little bit deceptive to say that it got easier to bat and probably Indians were ineffective. But I mean, any team in that particular scenario would have failed to control Head or Labuschagne. They played absolutely well, of course. And one thing they have to recognize is, I think, for Indian fans is, okay, it's not just about batting, it's not just about bowling and strike rate. It's about how many runs you save on the field and how you can put pressure on the opponent, right? And I'm not sure if Indian audience have got out of the mindset of, okay, superstars are only made with a number of runs or a number of wickets. Yeah, they are, of course, they are the most important, but you also have to understand you get that little bit of extra edge while fielding, and Australia fielded brilliantly today. I think they might have saved at least 40-50 runs. They saved a lot of runs in clutch moments where you'd know, okay, if that ball went for a boundary, maybe Rohit Sharma started off with a boundary, that would have really uh, disheartened the Australian bowling attack. But everybody was on high alert in the pitch, and that's why they deserve to win this. Now again, they got rougher of the conditions, but they shown through, and once they got the conditions in their favor, they absolutely, what do you call, dominated India in the final. Yeah, that's what I have to say about Australia right now. It's a little bit longer video than my usual videos. Now the next video will be about England. Now again, you'll understand why I put those green these green ones right now. I'm going to talk about India exclusively right now, but I'm going to compare with these three matches in green, and and compare as to why India were not as invincible as we thought first, and why India had a wrong. They got the tactics wrong, especially in the finals with regards to pitch selection, particularly with regards to pitch selection. Thank you, and see you in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe.